Our movie today begins in the year 1944, during the days of the Second World War. The atmosphere is very turbulent, and chaos is everywhere. Explosions fill the entire area to the extent that their echo reaches the Pacific Ocean. We get to know a naval commander belonging to the American Army named Allison. We understand that his unit was subjected to a very fierce attack by Japanese soldiers, and their mission ultimately failed. Unfortunately, all their equipment was destroyed, and a very large number of them died. Allison escapes from there by a great miracle. Suddenly, after a while, he finds himself in the middle of the sea on a raft. The situation was very dangerous for him, and he didn't know how he would reach land. He remains in this state for days and, of course, becomes very tired from hunger and thirst. He tries to determine his position correctly so he can save his life from death. By chance, he notices an island very close to him and can't believe that he will finally reach the shore. He goes quickly in its direction, hoping to find someone there to help him. As soon as he ties the raft he runs quickly onto the island and starts looking for any person other than himself to help him. He is very happy when he finds a river to drink from. He throws himself on the ground and continues to drink a very large amount due to extreme thirst. After resting a bit, he stands up again and begins to search the island at his leisure. He is surprised that it contains all the signs of life, but he hasn't met a single human until now. He worries about remaining alone after all this. When he walks further into the heart of the island, he finds a very old church. He takes a deep breath and hopes to find any person inside. Indeed, a nun named Angela appears and comes out of the church to clean in front of the door. She is shocked as soon as she sees a strange person standing to the side looking at her. When Alice senses that she is afraid of him, he tries to reassure her as much as possible and confirms to her that he is not there to harm her at all. He begins to explain to her that he is a soldier in the American Army, that he is lost and needs someone to help him, and that he has been without any food for several days. He is even more shocked when he learns from her that there is no one else living with her on the island and that she is here alone. He laughs out of sheer amazement and asks her how someone like her lives alone in an abandoned place just like that. After a while, Angela offers for him to come inside, sit, and rest. She also made food for him once she was sure he wouldn't harm her. She also tried to help him. He feels curious to understand what she is doing here. When he asks her, she begins to explain her strange story to him. She tells him that she arrived on this island with her monk to save the elderly priests who were living there from the Japanese forces. Unfortunately, after they arrived, it was too late. The Japanese army had captured all the priests on the island and taken them away. Over time, the priest who had come with her also died of illness, and she was left alone, not knowing how to act since then. Even her family surely thought she was a prisoner of the Japanese army, and no one thought to look for her. She tried to adapt to the new situation and live alone instead of surrendering to death. Alice is very moved by her story and decides to tell her everything that happened to him as well. He tells her that the enemy attacked his unit on an official mission and finished almost all of them, destroying everything they had. He was able to save himself with great difficulty until he reached the island. After a few hours, Alice decides to sleep for a while. He wakes up in the middle of the night and finds Angela sitting, praying calmly, and supplicating to God. The next morning, he began to help her and walk with her around the island to gather food for them. He climbs a tree and throws a large quantity of fruits and vegetables to Angela. After he finishes, he sees that they must eat protein. He finds a turtle coming out of the sea and decides to hunt it. He insists on pursuing it until he catches it, and Angela agrees to go with him and learn more. Because he is so confident in himself, he isn't very focused and suddenly falls into the water and starts drowning. He barely saves himself from death, and Angela helps him until he gets onto the raft safely. They catch the turtle in the end and return with it to the shore again. They make the food and sit to enjoy it calmly. They also talk about their fate while eating. Angela sees that the island has all the means of life, and if no one comes to rescue them, they will be able to live here in peace. She is curious to know more about Alice's personal life. When she asks him, he tells her that he is an orphan and was raised in an orphanage until he grew up and began to face life alone. By chance, Angela also tells him that she is an orphan and was raised with the nuns and has strong faith and a strong creed. Despite the big difference between them, Angela feels that her soul has become attached to him quickly. With the passing days, they get closer to each other. Suddenly, one day, they hear the sound of Japanese warplanes moving in every direction and firing shots. When Alice senses the danger, he runs quickly to her, takes her, and hides under the trees. He suggests to her that they go and stay in a cave until things calm down a bit. Angela agrees to his idea. They take some food for themselves and spend the entire night in the cave. Alice tries as much as possible to reassure her that he is with her and will never leave her. He goes out every now and then to see how things are outside and where the enemy is now. Angela stays sitting on edge, praying to God all the time and hoping all this ends well. Suddenly, the whole place starts to shake from the intensity of the explosions. Even Alice gets worried and afraid. He talks with Angela to distract himself a bit and tries to comfort her despite the fear he feels. The problem is that after the explosions end and he takes her out of the cave, they are shocked that the church and all its buildings have become just ruins. When they walk around a bit, they find that even the raft is ruined and there is no longer any hope of ever leaving this island. Before they can process what is happening, they find the enemy soldiers returning again to the island. They run to hide from them quickly. Alice holds a knife in his hand and is ready for anyone who might attack them. He is determined to protect Angela until his last breath. Fortunately for them, the soldiers did not notice their location at all. After a while, Angela gets tired from hunger and thirst and sees that they must surrender to the enemy rather than die. She suggests that he escape while she goes to surrender herself to distract them, thinking they would never kill a nun like her. Of course, Alice knows and is certain that they have no mercy, and would finish her off the moment she appeared before them in seconds. He completely rejects this idea and tells her that these people might do anything to her, and she would be tortured because of them. He won't let her waste herself for nothing and asks her to wait until nightfall, and he will try to handle it. Indeed, as soon as night comes, he goes out to monitor the atmosphere outside and sets a plan. He reaches the shore quietly and tries to fish without anyone seeing or sensing him. He is actually able to do so, but with very great difficulty. He takes the fish and returns with it to Angela and begins to eat quickly out of extreme hunger. Of course, this is a big problem for Angela because she hasn't eaten fish since she became a nun. She tries to swallow it with difficulty just to satisfy her hunger, nothing more, but in the end, she can't force herself and goes to sleep from exhaustion and hunger. Alice is forced to take a risk and goes out again, trying to collect some food from near their camp. Suddenly, a soldier approaches him, and he runs quickly to hide behind food crates. Unfortunately, he remains trapped in his place until dawn, unable to move because of the soldiers. He stays in this state until things calm down. The next morning, he takes the food and escapes quickly. At the same time, Angela wakes up and is terrified when she finds herself alone. She thinks that Alice escaped and left her, or that the enemy caught and killed him. She keeps crying from fear and overthinking and decides to go out to look for him. She finds him right in front of her, and all the fear inside her turns into anger at him. She starts to argue with him and blame him for putting his life in danger every time, and she blames him for going out without even informing her so she could be reassured about him. Alice calms her down and apologizes for what he did, promising her never to move from his place again without informing her. The next day, to make her a bit happy, he gathers flowers and presents them to her as a gift. He also makes her a wooden comb and asks her to keep it as a memory of him. He begins to talk with her about her life and asks her if she thinks about leaving the life of nuns in the future, to live a normal life, love, and get married. Angela explains to her that she hasn't yet made her final vows, and that any nun has the right to think and make that decision during the first 5 years. She feels that until now, she hasn't been able to make a final decision and is thinking. Alice is very happy then and feels there is hope for a connection between them, wishing she would change her mind soon. After a while, the Japanese soldiers pack their equipment and leave the island. Alice and Angela are very happy that they will finally come out to the surface again. Out of joy, they keep running and circling the island a bit, shouting very loudly. They are even happier when they find the soldiers have left many supplies, enough to last them for a period instead of looking for food every now and then. Suddenly, Alice confesses his love for her and tells her that he loved her from the first sight. He asks her to think about the matter of the nuns and move away from this path entirely, so they can marry and stay together for a lifetime. However, Angela is very startled and tense and feels unable to make a decision. She tells him that she wants to continue on the path of religion and help people, and doesn't want to waste all that for just a man. Despite Alice's sadness, he respects her decision and apologizes to her if his words upset her, deciding to close the subject entirely. At night, they sit to eat together, and Alice finds a bottle of drink among the food. He insists on drinking it all and loses consciousness completely. He begins to bother Angela and approach her by force until she is terrified of him and escapes outside quickly amidst the rain and cold. When he regains consciousness, he feels the disaster he has caused and tries to look for her everywhere but finds no trace of her. He continues like this until he finds her at dawn, sleeping on the ground, very tired from the cold. Suddenly, on the way, he sees enemy planes approaching them, so he is forced to take her to the cave again. Angela gets more tired, and her health deteriorates. Because of her situation, Alice decides to risk his life and runs to the soldiers' camp, stealing some blankets, food, and medicine. Before he leaves, one of them sees him, and Alice is forced to kill him with a knife. He hides his body so no one suspects anything and returns quickly to the cave. He begins to take care of Angela, giving her medicine and praying that she improves as soon as possible. The next day, Angela wakes up, and from the fatigue she was in, she doesn't remember exactly what happened. She feels that he worked very hard for her and took care of her, and she thanks him for what he did. At the same time, Alice apologizes to her for what happened from him and asks her to forgive him because he truly wasn't in his right mind. Before he finishes his words, they hear the sound of gunfire outside and many explosions. This is because they discovered the body of their colleague and began to strike and blow up everywhere on the island. They shout loudly, asking him to surrender himself instead of throwing hand grenades at him and dying in the end. Angela keeps praying and supplicating to God to save them from the situation they are in because there is no other solution before them. She thinks about what she will do if something happens to Alice. Suddenly, the solution comes from God, and the American army reaches the island. A big war occurs between the two sides. When Alice feels that his colleagues are in danger, he insists on helping them and goes to dismantle the enemy's cannons. Despite her fear, she decides to go help him and goes with him. Alice makes a great effort until he disables all the cannons. He feels he has done everything he can to help his army and colleagues. Angela finds him injured and fallen on his side and runs to him quickly to help him. At that time, Alice tells her that he is dying. Angela responds with all sadness, telling him that she won't be able to be with him in this world but loved him with all her heart and hopes they meet again in the afterlife. In the end, the American army takes over the island and finishes off the enemy army. They are happy that Alice is still alive because they thought he died with the rest of his team. They take him on a stretcher quickly, and Angela goes with him. They raise the flag on the island and decide to remain friends forever since they won't be able to marry. Angela insists on staying by his side until he improves, and she is reassured that he is well. And here ends the events of our movie today.